28 and I'm trying to shape history. Pulling from the sky for some strength to take with me. Line up the stars, fly away quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man, check my titles mate quickly. Came from the sky with the light of day in me, and grew my own wings so the pilot came with
Welcome guys to another episode of Ask Jack D, where we answer your questions every single day about absolutely anything. Today's episode we've taken all of the questions from Instagram, and we're going to start with the amazing Bunster Fresh, who asks, Jack Delosa, hashtag AskJackD. Hey Jack, how much time do you spend visualizing goals? Daily? If so, how long? Same thing every day. Please give us your visualization how-to. Cheers, Renee. Renee, thank you for that question. Here's the thing, and this is actually prompting me to think a little bit, because I don't sit down really ever and go through a structured, close my eyes, a structured visualization process per se. However, I do believe that as entrepreneurs, we spend our lives tinkering with a universe that doesn't yet exist. Everything in business, everything is created twice, right? Firstly, it's created in our mind. Secondly, it's created in what most other people would call reality. And if it's not created in your mind first, then it will not be reflected. It will not be created in reality. So, although I don't spend time sitting down going through any sort of rehearsed or structured visualization methodologies, if you like, what I do is spend probably most of my time envisaging and visioning how I want the future to look, who I want us to be in the future, and where we're going. So, I believe the extent to which you fulfill your vision as an entrepreneur is the extent to which you can move other people toward it, right? So I obsess about, in my game of education, which is, also my life's purpose, that's why I think I'm here. I've gone back around the topic of vision and becoming really competent and deep when it comes to vision. I've gone back and studied when was education invented. I've studied when did it become structured. And it turns out it was Plato that was the first ever person that put in place what we would call today a curriculum-based education. When did it lose its way? Because education was initially about drawing out from within, and somewhere it changed to being somebody transferring information to a whole bunch of other people. And I actually think Shakespeare had a lot to do with that change in definition. And then I've studied, for the last 60 or 7 years, the university landscape in Australia, the different governments that have been in play, their view on education, how they've changed funding, how they've changed the regulatory environment, how that's affected student experience. So I've studied the whole entire history of the game that I'm in detail, right? I just gave you the 10-second version. I can give you the 10-day version if you ever want to come in and have a chat about it. And I do all of that because I study history so that I can look through the lens of past lessons when creating the future. So I do all of that for the sole purpose, not of becoming a historian, but more becoming a futurist and going, where is education going to be 8 years from now? And what do the world's best education institutions look like 8 years from now? And then I work back from that. So I have a very detailed roadmap, particularly over the next sort of 2 or 3 years. Beyond that, it becomes more macro and more broad as to how we, as the entourage, will become that, moving into the accredited space, becoming an accredited education provider so that we can scale our brand and our style of education globally and reach more people, continuing along the unaccredited path and really bringing the integrity and the consumer focus back into education. For instance, Harvard's budget for making teaching better is $0 every year. We have a multi-billion-dollar industry globally, and nobody's focusing on what's being taught, right? So to me, that's crazy. So I obsess about this sort of stuff, and that's how I do my visioning, if you like. I look at the industry, I look at who I need to become, I look at who we need to become as a team and who we need to become as a business on a global basis, and that's where the visioning comes from. That's what I believe our first and foremost job as entrepreneurs is. Really good question, Renee. Thank you for sending that in. Question number 2, Holistic Paradise. What would be your best advice for a person who is an introvert by nature but wants to succeed as an entrepreneur? Are there any spiritual or personal development practices? Does that mean 2 minutes, Gresh? What does that mean?
That means you're 4 minutes in.
How does that mean 4 minutes in?
Second stage.
With the time, let's do 4 equals 4, okay? 6 equals 6. I'm a simple guy. Let's keep this simple. That's like 8, right? Or are you meaning that as 4?
Go to 10.
Huh?
What do we do if we go to 10?
You'll need to borrow fingers from Rose or Katie. We have 30 fingers here, guys. Including me, we have 40 fingers. This episode could go for 40 minutes, we'd be cool. Before we start running out of fingers.
Yeah, we're now at 5.
Okay, now. Yes, good call, and we've got toes. So we could go to 60 minutes.
Let's do it.
No, 80.
Including me.
Oh
80.
my God, keep going.
I'm pretty sure there's only 60 between the three of you, unless my maths is way off. Yeah, including me. Yeah, good point, great point. Shall we continue? Where was I?
It's a great question, Renee.
Yes, holistic paradise. What would be your best advice for a person who is an introvert, shy by nature, but wants to succeed as an entrepreneur? Are there any spiritual personal development practices you would recommend? Hashtag AskJackD. Really good question. Here's the thing. I think, I think it was Buddha, and someone said to him, can you consolidate everything you've ever learned down into one page? And he said, I don't know, give me a couple of days. And he did that. And then they said, and he did that. Then they said, can you consolidate everything you've ever learned down into one paragraph? And he goes, I don't know, give me a couple of days. And then he did that. They said, can you convert everything you've ever learned down into 2 words? And he said, I don't know, give me a couple of days. And he came back a couple of days later with a piece of paper that simply said the 2 words that consolidated everything he'd ever learned and everything that he'd ever taught. This is a very wise person, down into 2 words that simply read, know thyself, right? Know thyself. The thing with leadership is it's not about emulating or imitating anybody else's style, but rather know thyself, knowing yourself to the greatest extent and owning who you are, owning your strengths, owning your weaknesses, and then building a business and a team and a life around you that is truly reflective of who you truly are. Right? So worst thing we can do, like if you're an introvert, for instance, in Holistic Paradise's case, worst thing we can do is, if we're introvert, is then try and be like an extrovert and overly charismatic and overly confident and all of that sort of stuff. Yes, 7 means 7. We are back, right? The worst thing we can do is try and be something that we're not. So if you're an introvert, then that probably lends itself to certain types of businesses, maybe tech businesses or businesses that aren't overly consumer-facing, personable, one-on-one or one-to-many type stuff, right? The other thing is that in the build of your team, knowing you're an introvert, the first person you bring on is probably a business development person or a salesperson, somebody that can get out there and do the charismatic sort of song and dance and win business, right? Whereas if you're an extrovert, you'd probably be the best person to get out there and do the song and dance and bring in new business and bring in new partnerships. And in doing so, your first hire would probably be an admin person or a PA or an operations manager or whatever, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter where your skills or natural characteristics lie. What matters to a greater degree is that you are aware of your skills and characteristics and weaknesses and build a business and build a team that reflects that, right? As entrepreneurs, we have to hire our weaknesses. So if you're an introvert, be okay with being an introvert, right? There's a lot of things that can be really attractive about being an introvert, right? It comes with a humility, it comes with a certain level of connectedness, comes with a lack of bullshit that sometimes comes with being an extrovert, right? And so own all of that and be okay with all of that and amp that up, right? Know thyself, turn that up. Really good question, Holistic Paradise. Last question comes from Nick Pearson, who says, Braz, when are Cavelli's latest tracks being released? Nick, I think you have perhaps recognised the voice on the intro song for this particular episode. The answer is hopefully soon, provided he can actually get some time to get back in the studio. Guys, thank you so much for sending all those questions in. I'm enjoying having these conversations with you every single day. Become a YouTube subscriber. There'll be a link somewhere around this video. Do that, and I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow.